Hi everyone, I'm Sokwa. Today I'll be sharing with you on this project called Understanding Emotional Intelligence. So this is prepared in conjunction with the District 102 Pathways Virtual Fest, which was conducted about 1 month ago. So today I take this opportunity to record down what I've shared during the Pathways Virtual Fest, but in a more detailed manner so that you can understand thoroughly for this manual, which is personally, I think, very beneficial for everyone to attempt. So let's get started. Okay. First of all, let's acknowledge, how are you feeling right now? Many of the times we rush from one routine to another without even pausing and taking note on how we are feeling right now. So I think this is very important to acknowledge how you are feeling, whether you are tired, you are restless, or when you are watching this video right now, what is the real emotions that you have behind you, or you're feeling very restless on what I'm going to share next. So acknowledge your feeling. And let me tell you, this particular project, Understanding Emotional Intelligence, is only available if you choose Motivational Strategies path. Okay, so congratulations, because this is one of the most interesting projects, but it's not the easiest project that you can attempt. And the purpose of this particular project, if you refer to the manual, most of the information I prepared for this presentation is from the manual itself, to cultivate an understanding of how your relationships will be impacted by your emotions. And also it can help you to identify your emotions and how it can impact your emotional state. And what you need to do for this particular project is, first, you need to maintain a journal for a minimum of 2 weeks. Or in other words, journal is like writing diary. You record down what you have done for the day, how you are feeling, whatever it is. Journal down your emotions and your routine. Write about your emotions and how they impact you and others. Discuss the impact of tracking your emotions in a 5 to 7 minute speech. So I think the key word here is the impact. Yeah, whether it's a positive impact or negative impact, how is it like? There's no right or wrong, so just jot it down if you are able to take note of that impact. Share what you are comfortable with. Remember, this journal is suggested for you to record for 2 weeks, minimum 2 weeks. If you think 2 weeks is not enough for you to have some content to share, you can prolong it to 3 to 4 weeks. It depends on you. And of course, this is a very personal thing. Share only what you're comfortable with your club members when you prepare the 5 to 7 minute speech. And this speech should not be a report on the project content. What I'm going to share next is on how you can track emotions and all the tips, so on. So you should not report on everything based on this manual. Now, what you will learn or acquire from this particular project is, first, you will learn how to identify the primary elements of emotional intelligence. You are able to access your emotions honestly, hopefully, if you are kind to yourself. Determine how to appropriately express your emotions. Display understanding of the importance of optimism in relation to motivation, and of course, to discover the techniques for increasing empathy. Well, for some of you who are new to this emotional intelligence, some of these words may sound very vague, subjective, or intangible for you. Don't need to worry so much, because later on I will share some tips. And if you still have doubts on certain words, such as what is empathy, feel free to Google it and read more articles related to empathy if you would like to really work on increasing your empathy, on understanding others. So just take one step at a time to understand these concepts. Don't need to push yourself too hard to understand everything. Okay, this is just a beginning for you to improve your emotional intelligence. So first of all, you need to understand the definition. What's emotional intelligence all about? It's your ability to understand and manage your feelings and to self-motivate. Okay, so for this motivational strategies path, it's in the level 3 project. So before you go to level 5 on really how to motivate others, you need to learn how to self-motivate. Because ultimately, no one can really push you if you yourself don't want to do it. So what is your self-motivation? You need to understand about it. You need to understand how you are feeling before you want to create that impact to influence and motivate others. So there are many other definitions of emotional intelligence. Feel free to search them out. But in this context, this is the basic understanding that you should know about EI, right? Next, move on. Defining emotions. Of course, here in this manual, they break it down to primary and secondary. Primary emotions are those that we feel almost every day, of course, or every now and then. And sometimes you experience a mix of emotions. Primary emotions are such as fear, sadness, surprise, happiness. You feel it without you even think about it. Secondary emotions usually grows from the primary emotions, and they are like anger, frustration, disappointment, humor, and excitement. I think most of the time we experience a mix of emotions. So how do you want to manage emotions? First, you need to take notice of emotions. And this is the first step. Okay, after you understand about it. So why is emotional intelligence important? Why we want to manage it? Because we know that it's important. So how can it help you in your Toastmasters journey, your personal journey, or your career? It can help us to communicate more effectively. We encounter times where people just scold and, say things very harshly without thinking because they could not manage their emotions well. They just get triggered like that without anticipating the consequences. So I think many of us, we do not want to regret our words or actions. So how it can help you to develop meaningful relationships, channel negative emotions in a positive way. It's very hard to eliminate negative emotions entirely, but we can minimize the negative emotions that we encounter by practicing again and again. So according to Daniel Goleman, a very famous author that writes the book Emotional Intelligence, he breaks down EI into 5 elements: self-awareness, regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. If you can get hold of that book, I think you will understand emotional intelligence better. So let's go into a little bit more detail for these 5 elements, which is also iterated in this particular manual. First, self-awareness. In this project, the first thing that you need to do is self-awareness. And how you can do that? You can use a very simple technique, which is to pause. But of course, you need to remember to pause. So recognize your emotions when you pause. This can help to develop your self-awareness on how you are feeling at that particular moment. No matter it's you are being frustrated, or you are being very excited or sad, pause first. Perhaps you could take a deep breath and ask yourself how you are feeling right now. And understand your responses. Why are you reacting like that to a certain people or to certain words? Okay? Ask yourself what you are feeling. Why am I feeling like this? So you can jot this down in your journal. Next, self-regulation. Once you are able to identify your emotions, can evaluate your emotions. Okay, when you jot it down in your journal, you are able to see this clearly because you write it down. If you ask me to journal in a digital way or the old school way of writing it down in a book, my answer to you is I prefer the old school way. You write it down. The action of writing it down can enable you or your brain to actually process your thoughts in a calmer way. And you can actually have a better picture of how your emotions are, and you can manage them in a productive way. Interact with others in a positive manner, and it can encourage you to respond and not to react immediately. So choose your response. You cannot choose the results, but I think what you can do is to choose your response. Okay. And the third one is empathy. I think this is not an easy thing to do because especially when we encounter negative situations or situations where it's harmful to us or we are at a not so good position, you may ask yourself, why am I in this situation? Why does things happen to me like that? So it's very difficult to manage sometimes. But if we see other people who have some bad situations happening to them, let's try to put ourselves in their shoes. And that is how we can practice empathy. Before we judge them, before we say things to them, try to think from their perspective, anticipate what is their needs like, assist them if you can, of course, but not helping them all the time, but assist them in order to meet those needs if you know what is it all about. Develop relationships based on trust. Okay, so I think empathy is another thing to learn altogether, and definitely it requires a lot of patience and time to do this. Motivation, okay, understand what motivates others. There is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is a bit hard to capture, but for you, for yourself, ask yourself, what motivates you from within? Do you have clear personal goals that motivate you? For example, your goal is to achieve distinguished Toastmaster, or your goal is to help others to grow. What is it? Know yourself, okay? And extrinsic motivation is quite straightforward. It's from the outside. For example, you are given a medal or trophy as a result of winning the speech contest. You feel motivated, very, very motivated. So if you know your members are motivated by gifts or ribbons, perhaps you could have more of that to reward your members. So try to understand what's your motivation and also what motivates others, and you could take the right action to motivate them. Okay. Lastly, social skills. Strengthen bonds and nurture relationships. So this is also a skillful art to master because different group has different dynamics. Throughout my years in Toastmasters, I realized that each time I work with different people, it's very interesting because there are people who would definitely help you and there were people who would criticize you, or maybe they just don't agree with you and make your life difficult. So treat that as a matter of fact and accept it, manage these people. Who knows? They can give you different ideas and challenge you to improve what you're doing. Interact with various types of people and work on the same goal, communicate well. So this is something that everyone should learn as well. Just be open about it. So strengthening your emotional intelligence, I would say it's not easy, especially during this pandemic. I think many of us encountered this and realized the importance of mental health, on how we need to manage our own emotions well before we can manage others. So first, self-evaluation, if you're able to identify your emotions and then evaluate why you're having that kind of feeling, understand your responses, don't penalize yourself too much for having certain responses that your ideal self say, oh, no, you should not say that. Oh, no, you should not do that. So take time to understand your responses. It may be because of past experiences or someone told you to do that, or it has been done that way for many, many times. So it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself for that. It's very important to be kind to yourself if you want to practice emotional intelligence. Pay close attention to challenges and recognize any emotional triggers. Okay, so if you notice that you are easily triggered by what do you call that? By what do you call that? What example can I give? If you are easily triggered by noises, or you are easily triggered by comments from someone, take notice of that. Yeah, try to be non-judgmental, try to take a deep breath and maybe be empathy on that person, why he or she is saying things like that to you. Yeah, relax, and maybe you can look things at different perspective, and then you can respond differently, and that may result in a different outcome. Who knows? So when things happen again and again, there must be a reason. Just try to center yourself, ground yourself, and try another approach. Yeah, be open, be free to try different approach, so that you may not know what outcome that you will get. Okay, reframe negative thoughts, be positive. It's very important in this environment. And lastly, increase your empathy by active listening. We have a lot of active listening project in Pathways Manual. I think all the paths, they have actually this. Have a look at this active listening manual, because I think active listening not only help in Toastmasters when we are playing roles in a meeting, but also in a day-to-day basis when you're listening to a subordinate or your bosses, what they want to say, what they want to tell you, even they are scolding you, just listen. And if you are quietly listening, maybe the scolding won't be as long as it takes previously. And yeah, just not only keep your eye open, but keep your ears open and your mind open for these new opinions and thoughts. From there, adjust your emotions, and then you can navigate your responses for a better outcome. Okay. And just now, we talked about journaling for a minimum of 2 weeks. If you Google up, journaling has many benefits. Many people actually use journaling as a way to self-healing. When they are sad, when they are depressed, journaling actually can help to clear your mind. When you have too many things on your mind, it's easier to write down a checklist and just take off what you need to do and the task that you need to tackle. So journaling definitely has more benefits than the disadvantages. So try journaling, no matter you have done it before or not. It will be a way to enhance your self-awareness, have a clearer mind, and also to jot down all the negative thoughts that you have in your mind. And when you read back on what you have written, you will be surprised. Hey, how come I have these thoughts? And you will recognize that these thoughts are not permanent thoughts. They are just temporary. It's just how our mind works that way. So just acknowledge that thoughts just come and go, just come and go. Don't need to be too attached to a particular thought. Okay? Especially the negative ones that can bring you down. All in all, thanks for staying with me for me to share about emotional intelligence. This is definitely one of the most interesting projects that I would say it can help you to discover yourself even more, recognize your own emotions, how you can manage your responses, and be a more positive and open person. And of course, this is a continuous learning process. I hope that this particular project is just a starting or a stepping stone for you to improve your emotional intelligence and open up your mind on this area that is increasingly important in today's environment, where things are changing very fast and there are so many things to cope with. So mastering your mind is definitely a must for you to manage different people and issues. Okay. So this is a quote that I would like to share with you. Leadership is all about emotional intelligence. Management can be taught, the skills, the chart, how you want to craft your vision, or how you need to plan and set goals. All these can be taught. But leadership is an experience with people. People are emotional beings. Okay, so all the best. And I hope that you will share this with your members as well to encourage them to be more emotional intelligent. And I wish you all the best. Stay happy and healthy always. Thank you very much.